WWDC is always my favorite Apple event of the year because it's the one we know the least about. Supply chain rumors, those are impossible to avoid, right? But software built inside of and only inside of Apple? Now that's something they've been pretty good at keeping on the DL. This year is no different. However, there is a different aura, a different energy surrounding WWDC. Why? Well, reputable leaker Mark Gurman of Bloomberg and others have been told by sources that 2024, this year, holds the biggest iOS update since the original iPhone launched 17 years ago. Now, a bit of a frustration. A rumor reporting industry-wide has incredibly poor sourcing and often interjects what sources actually state with punditry and opinion, most of which, no offense, is crappy. Thus, in this video, I will show you what has been reported word for word from the original source, and then discuss with you what that might actually mean. As should be, well, no surprise to anybody that's been paying attention, AI is very much the theme of iOS 18 and macOS 15. But where is this AI going to run, and what is it going to actually do? Multiple rumors have corroborated Gurman's reporting of Project Greymatter, an internal codename that, while as creepy sounding as all get out, is supposed to push helpful AI tools into not just core apps like Safari, Photos, and Notes, but also the operating system as a whole. Features which we'll discuss shortly. Now, Project Greymatter integrations are largely said to run on-device, with relatively few requests going to the cloud. And that just makes sense, right? Apple has been building amazing NPUs for years now, and they have complete vertical control of not just the hardware, but the kernel and the operating system too. Running on device also lessens the latency of requests that have to be, normally sent to and from a server. And it also reduces the operating costs of a bunch of servers for processing. It's logical, right? Now, Gurman says the following that's kind of strange. Quote, both operating systems, meaning macOS and iOS, will include software that determines whether a task should be handled on the device or via the cloud. This to me is obvious. Forthcoming features are not going to be like real AI where you can just ask it anything and it thinks to itself, where should I send this query? No. There are obviously going to be a set of parameters of things that can be done on device, via the cloud, and perhaps not at all. I suppose Gurman's statement could be somehow construed to make sense in a world where older devices might need to send data to the cloud since they don't have the processing chutzpah of more modern hardware to run the request locally. However, that's not really Apple's MO. I find it more likely that Apple will just prevent certain features from working on older devices rather than default to the cloud. Okay, let's discuss what some of these features will do, amongst which, quote, transcribe voice memos, retouch photos with AI, and make searches faster and more reliable in the Spotlight feature. They will also improve Safari web search and automatically suggest replies to emails and text messages. Okay, this is a meaty, chunky one, so let's just take this item by item. Transcribing voice memos? Yeah, sure, that's handy, but speech to text is not generally considered AI, and Apple already does that in other places on the system. What I find to be more likely to arrive are AI summaries of voice memos, and, well, these are awesome. I've been using an app called Cleft that I really like. You just talk, and it creates meeting minutes formatted in a document. Having that free and on device would be absolutely stellar. Retouching photos, yeah, that one is a must-have. This is a great real-world feature that's already been available on other smartphones for a few years now. I certainly see Apple playing catch-up here by adding some stuff that's been added already previously by other manufacturers like object removal, etc. However, I would also really like them to implement voice-driven edit features. Being able to say, crop in on my face, or make this photo black and white, or make the balloon green instead of purple is something that seems feasible and would be a huge help to those less technically savvy in the edit. Making search more quick and more reliable doesn't really need AI. Spotlight itself just needs a total revamp from the ground up on iOS. It is persistently slow and often fails to provide relevant results at all. Now, some AI features that I would like to see in Spotlight for iOS are basically already built into macOS, like show me PDFs created this month. You can say that today on a Mac, and it works. Okay, I lied. Siri sucks on the Mac too. It didn't used to. Apparently, up until Big Sur, you used to be able to do tons of things like find all the documents I opened on Wednesday, or find the file that I called travel plans, open a Pages document for my latest tech tutorial, show my downloads folder, show my tax files that I sent to this person. It was crazy powerful. That stuff started to break, apparently, in Big Sur, and more and more and more of it broke until they just removed it entirely with Sonoma. Because, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I want that on my phone. You see, I don't really subscribe to the idea that Apple's going to have a chat bot or something like that. And we'll talk more about that soon. But if there was a place where the system was going to have you ask a question and you could get a result Google Gemini style, I think it probably would happen within Spotlight. As for improvements to Safari web search, well, I think this will be something similar to how it currently shows inline Wikipedia results. I don't think that this should be taken to mean that you're going to stop Googling and start Apple AIing in browser. As for auto-suggesting replies to emails and text messages, this is a no-brainer and will likely be one of the most commonly used features. I mean, I don't even know if we can consider it a rumor, since Apple literally published a couple of months ago a model called OpenELM that does this very thing. Being able to auto-select a reply when you're busy that actually uses context rather than the current, "can I call you later?" or taking a sentence that you finger blasted into an email message reply field and, well, just relying on the system to elaborate and format it, that would be a huge quality of life improvement. Now, Gurman also says the Siri personal assistant will get an upgrade as well, with more natural-sounding interactions based on Apple's own large language models. This is a premise I'm very excited about, but also cautiously skeptical of. I mean, think about it. The whole appeal of devices like the AI Pen and Rabbit R1 is that you can talk to them like a person. The problem that both of them have is that they rely on ChatGPT and just don't have powerful enough intent engines to do anything beyond respond to basic queries. In theory, Apple has the ability to do that low-level stuff to make Siri actually useful, to actually do real things via APIs, a real lamb. The question is, will they? I'm going to venture that no, they're not, at least not yet, and or not at scale. The main reason being that, well, this crap is hard, and until third-party apps can do the same system-level stuff, I think it'll still feel frustratingly limited no matter what Apple adds. I mean, providing APIs to devs seems like a reach before people get how this AI stuff is supposed to work. And until Apple has not just an LLM that's as good as ChatGPT, but also an intent engine that's better than Google's, neither of which currently it seems that they have. Knowing Apple in their very underdog position in data collection, I mean, it might never happen. And look, even though Siri sucks, it can do stuff today. Like, it can add reminders, it can set alarms, it can send messages, etc. These are the same kinds of things we want to do in this new AI era, just better and more easily. And one of the biggest wow moments I had with the AI pin is that I could take forever to poorly communicate what I wanted to achieve, and if it didn't understand what I meant, which was actually pretty rare, it would ask for clarification. It also permitted me to use follow-up commands. That's the problem with Siri today. I mean, if I could say, "Hey Siri, will you set a calendar thingy for Friday? No, wait, next Friday. It's at 2 p.m. and sorry, it's an appointment with Dr. Smith. Remind me the night before." And have that work? Have it actually perform that function rather than just time out 5 seconds into you mumbling or stuttering? And if you could then follow up and just say, "Oh, and send an invite to Megan," our relationship with Siri as an assistant would change substantially. Its context, what it can do, isn't that much better, but the way it does it is. So much of what feels limiting about Siri today is how carefully you have to speak to it. And removing that barrier, that would make huge perceived improvements, even if the actual capabilities, the lamb, as it were, doesn't grow that much. And for whatever it's worth, I think that this new Siri is going to bring with it substantially more local processing. Right now, Siri goes out to the cloud for a lot of things, most things. The LLM that Apple is likely developing is, well, something like that, a smaller on-device model that won't target, ChatGPT per se, but will do most of the things that you want to do on a phone. So it'll draft up a quick reply in response to your mom's errand request, but likely not know how to dethatch your lawn. But what about the times where you do want that kind of response? You do need to know how to dethatch your lawn. Well, Siri has fallen so far behind in general knowledge that I don't even ask it anymore because I just know it will say, here's what I found on the web for dethatching your lawn. That's not helpful. And I think that Apple knows Gemini is going to start kicking butt on Android. So Gurman has said that Google and Apple had a few months ago almost sealed the deal for a chatbot style integration in iOS. This should be actually pretty unsurprising if you've been paying attention to how stuff works in the background, because Google pays Apple metric boatloads of money to be the default web browser on iOS. To be the default chatbot doesn't seem like such a leap. But things allegedly fell through the cracks, and if everything is to be believed, Apple has signed an agreement with OpenAI instead. Strategically, I just think this makes a lot of sense. I mean, OpenAI is generally ahead of Google in providing accurate results. They're not telling you to put glue on your cheese pizza to get the cheese to stick to the crust. And they also have the backing of Microsoft and Azure, which is one of the few infrastructures that can likely accommodate the 1.7 billion Apple devices that are expected to upgrade to the latest OS version within 30 days of release. I mean, for context, OpenAI right now is only using 180 million. So imagine almost 2 billion. My prediction because of that is actually the following: that chatbot functionality, it's only going to exist within spoken Siri requests. And disclosure from Siri of, hey, here's what I found on the web, will quietly suggest to you that you maybe take the return answer with a grain of salt. But look, that's not all. Rumors also suggest that a big part of this new effort is creating smart recaps. This is going to be the AI pitch that I think they focus the most on. And frankly, it's spectacular. Again, one of the most compelling things, at least in principle, of the AI pin is the catch me up feature, where rather than read you messages verbatim and notifications verbatim, it just provides a short summary of the stuff that's actually important. And if you want more detail, well, you can ask for it in a follow-up question and it will provide that. Apple already kind of started doing this AI-style notification parsing with iOS 17. You might have noticed that when you have AirPods in your ears and you receive a multimedia iMessage, the phone will actually try to explain the context of the photo to you. It's not great, but it's better than nothing, and that's with images. So I think summarizing text will be awesome, genuinely useful, and quite a big deal. Now, this feature is also supposed to extend into summaries of many system-level functions. So you'll be able to use it on web pages and news articles and more. Just say, hey, give me a summary of this, and it will provide that. This seems obvious because a lot of AI apps are doing this server-side, and they're doing it well already. So if Apple could do this on silicon, which I think Apple is almost certainly to do, they're just going to kick butt. It's going to be efficient, convenient, and basically immediate. Oh, and free. Now, we've got to talk about some of the quirkier stuff related to AI, and that starts with generative emojis. The idea that emoji will be created on the fly based on the context of the conversation you're having is actually hilarious and silly. I love it. Potentially wonderful. Here's the thing, though. Emoji are controlled by the Unicode Consortium, so it's not like it's going to be a literal emoji that you can just post on Twitter or send to random Android phones. You'll probably have to, if you'd like it to be displayed properly, just have it as an image file. And I don't think that's going to happen. Can I make a prediction? I think that these AI emojis, it's going to be exclusive to iMessage, just like stickers and many of the other things that already exist in iOS. Remember, RCS support is coming later this year, but that doesn't mean that they have to support all of iMessage features inside of RCS. And custom emoji is just another ploy, I expect, that will get people to come to iMessage in the first place if they're not already there, and B, once they've done that, to keep purchasing new iPhones and encouraging their friends to download and use iMessage as well. Why don't we have iMessage for Android? Apple Music is also said to be gaining auto-generated playlist functionality based on your mood, time of day, and other parameters. If you look at what Spotify has done with their DJ function and other services that already do something similar, this is a must implement. On the one hand, as an old fart who listens to albums all the way through, I couldn't care less about this feature, but stuff like this and Rewind at the end of the year are what keep the Spotify cult so strong, so healthy. So it would be good to see an attempt to at least try to chip away at that. Sick of AI yet? Yeah, well, me too. In truth, there aren't a whole lot of other rumors that have leaked, but that's not to say that there's not any. Gurman has said for many months now that home screen improvements will come to iOS, namely that icons will be able to be placed anywhere on the home screen, and that the icons themselves will be able to change their color? Yeah, he says, quote, "For instance, you can make all of your social icons blue or finance-related ones green." What does this mean? Literally change the icon? I mean, lots of brands get persnickety about their branding, so there would need to be an opt-out function. And if there is one, would any app developer do this? I mean, does it color the background behind the app or the logo, or just color the whole thing with like a somewhat transparent color? Look, it seems problematic. I mean, we can go deeper. Like, what about apps that don't have a distinct background color at all, and they're just like, art? I guess, well, some old school Android launchers, they would put the app icon inside of like a shape with a background color, but that looked like crap. And I don't think any Android launcher is still doing that today. So I suspect if this rumor is true at all, it seems misconstrued or misunderstood. It'll be something similar to the way TestFlight works on iOS. If you've never installed a TestFlight beta before, it basically puts a little orange dot next to the app name. I could see Apple allowing the user to tag apps with a color, because that's already part of an Apple design tenet within macOS. It's the way that you tag files inside of the Finder. As for being able to place the icons wherever they are desired to be, this is obvious. It's long overdue, right? And something that Android has done so much better from day one. But can I make one other request, Apple? Please, for the love that is holy, just give iPadOS users the ability and the option to choose icon placement dependent on the orientation. No matter how nicely you make it look in one orientation, it looks like crap in the other. So let me just customize both orientations, please. If it's supposed to rotate, let me rotate it. Okay. Last couple of random rumors. Reminders are expected to show in Apple Calendar now, which is very nice. It's one of the few reasons that I still pay for Fantastical. The other, a monthly view that doesn't suck. Please ditch the dots, Apple. Like, Johnny Ive is gone. Phone screens aren't 4 inches anymore. Displaying text on an actual date in the monthly view will not kill you. We want it. We've wanted it for years. Last, the iPad is expected to finally, after 14 years, receive a calculator app. But not just that, Apple Notes will also integrate a math function similar to Solver 3. And while not for everybody, this is a great implementation for students and those that keep more technical notes within Apple Notes, thanks to Apple Pencil on iPadOS. And that's it. I would go on to speak of all the feature requests that I have for this year's releases, but I told your father I'd have you home before midnight. Let me know in the comments down below if these rumors sound good to you, if they sound bad, or if there's something that you want that nobody has yet discussed. But most importantly, and as always, stay snazzy. See you next week.